I'm Kristal Hart. With me is Eddie Goldman. This is Mixed Martial Arts Affliction. Tell our audience about this show.
A lot of people have probably seen the Affliction t-shirts and the clothing line. This company now is entering the world of mixed martial arts as a promoter. They're doing the debut show Saturday, July 19th in Anaheim, California. It used to be called the Pond, now it's called the Honda Center, and that's going to be available on pay-per-view television. They're spending a ton of money bringing in some of the best fighters in the world.
The best.
The greatest.
The best.
They have in the main event the man most people recognize as the best heavyweight mixed martial arts fighter in the world, Fedor Emelianenko of Russia. Also, most people consider him, or many still do, the top pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He will be facing Sylvia, a former UFC heavyweight champion, recently left that company and is now going to be going up against Fedor, who's only about 6'1". You look at Fedor, you think this guy isn't that tough. Well, he's only lost once in all these years of fighting, and that was on a cut to Tsuyoshi Kosaka, and he avenged that with a victory in the rematch. He's beaten Krokop, Negao, just about everybody else that has been the top fighters in the game of mixed martial arts. He's only fought one other time in the United States. This will be his second time. He refused to sign with the UFC. He called their contractual offers disrespectful. It wasn't so much the money, it was all the restrictions. And he still competes in the great sport of Sambo, which is a martial art, sort of a combination between wrestling and judo that's very popular in Russia, and it's primarily an amateur sport. He wants to continue doing that. And he's with the M1 Global organization, but most importantly, he's going to be competing here in America. And what he wants to do, what everybody wants to see him do, including himself, is face Randy Couture, who a few months ago resigned from the UFC, he's now involved in a big legal battle with them. And he quit, and he is the former UFC heavyweight champion. He's a legend. And Randy Couture wants one fight left in his career because he's about 44 years old.
Oh, and that would be the fight.
That would be the fight. Randy Couture against Fedor Emelianenko. That could be the Ali Fraser of mixed martial arts that everybody wants to see, the best against the best. And because of the structure of UFC, they don't want the best against the best unless you sign everything over to them and fight just exclusively for them and can't do anything else. And Fedor is in a strong enough position because he fights in Japan, he fights in Russia, he's an international celebrity. Vladimir Putin, the head of Russia, goes to his fights. You know, he's strong enough that he doesn't have to put up with that. Hopefully all fighters will have the rights that they don't have to put up with that kind of nonsense either. But Fedor is one of the few ones that can do that. So he's going to be on the Affliction card. The problem with this card is not the lineup, because they got Matt Lindland, one of the top middleweights, against Negao Nascimento, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, Josh Barnett and Pedro, Rizzo, two other top heavyweights, a rematch that actually Rizzo won back in 2001. Babalu, Mike Whitehead, they have Ben Rothwell is on this card. His opponent hasn't been named. Ben was the top heavyweight for a couple of years in IFL, left that organization, and it's expected his opponent will be announced soon. Possibly it could be Andrei Arlovsky, another former UFC champion. This is an incredibly loaded card. Problem is, business-wise, there are only so many people in America who are going to order a pay-per-view with all these great fighters. So this could be a big money loser for this organization. They literally could lose their Affliction shirts in this. We hope they do well, but we're being realistic about this. Running to pay-per-view without their own website, without building much awareness. A lot of people are going to watch this and going to say, wow, this guy Fedor, you know, he sounds really exciting. I'd like to see him. How many of you watching the show have actually seen Fedor fight? Not a whole lot. That's taking nothing away from his ability. It's just his marketing and lack of exposure in the United States. So for people to shell out, you know, $40 or whatever it costs for it, it's going to take a lot to build that up. So there are two different aspects. So we have to watch the business aspect and the quality aspect. But if you want to see some of the greatest fighters in the world, particularly some of the greatest heavyweight mixed martial arts fighters in the world, either be in Anaheim or watch this show. I definitely recommend that.
Today, the excitement continues with yet another announcement that will rock the fight world. The official announcement of the partnership between Donald Trump and Affliction Entertainment. It is my pleasure to introduce to you one of the heavyweights in real estate, business, sports, and entertainment, Mr. Donald Trump.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's an honor to be here. I'm a big fan of fighting. I went to the boxing. And as you probably know, last year, Vince McMahon and myself did a little thing called Battle of the Billionaires. Did anyone ever hear about that little event? And in the history of wrestling, according to Vince and according to everybody, that was the biggest pay-per-view ever, the biggest gate ever, the highest rated show ever in the history of wrestling. And we had a lot of fun. And Vince McMahon is a great guy and a really good friend of mine. So I've been around it for a long time. I had more Mike Tyson fights than anybody had, and that was when Mike was Mike. That was when he was the best. And I had many, many of his fights down in Atlantic City. He did very well with his fights. So I understand the business, but more importantly, I understand partners and partnerships. And the group from Affliction is fantastic. The fighters are great. And when you said Big Ben, and then you went to the last, I thought you were going to say Big Ben Roethlisberger, who's a friend of mine. I thought maybe is Ben going to be doing a little fighting? That would be a little fun for us, right? I'm sure the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't be happy, but he's a great friend of mine. He's a golfing friend of mine. And so it's an honor to have you at Trump Tower. I really think July 19th is going to be an amazing event. And then we'll have many others after that. The MMA is really something that's happening. It's happening big league. It's happening quickly.
What are you going to bring to this promotion, and what's the long-term plan for Trump and Affliction?
Well, number one, I've got a lot of money. That helps, right? But also, and perhaps more importantly, I seem to get a lot of attention. For instance, if I wasn't here today, you might have maybe one writer, and now the place is packed. And I actually said this room won't be big enough, and nobody believed me. And it's really not big enough. We should have done this down to the atrium. But if I weren't here, all of these cameras wouldn't be here. So I do bring attention. And that's both for better and worse. But I get a lot of attention.
When you were approached to get involved, because like you say, you've done stuff with boxing, Vince McMahon, and professional wrestling, what is it about MMA that you think you can help get to the next level? Because we've seen a lot of promotions spend a lot of money and unfortunately not see the reward in the end, except for the UFC right now, and hopefully, the UFC last weekend. So what's the Trump machine going to bring to MMA?
Well, I've been involved in many, many events. Whether it was Tyson against Spinks, that was my event, or Tyson against Holmes, Larry Holmes, and I think Larry Holmes is an example that's going to go. We just had Lennox Lewis on The Apprentice. I think Larry Holmes, we're going to put him on The Apprentice. The one that comes, it's going to be right after the Super Bowl. We have many great people, and some of them are fighters, actually. We had, as an example, Tito and Lennox Lewis on the last one. I think what we are going to do, and I think what's going to happen, I've watched boxing, and I've really watched it go down, and I like boxing. I really enjoy it. I think the beginning of the end for boxing was the 12 rounds. Now, people say, oh, that's not very nice, because who would want to fight 15 rounds? But boy, I've seen so many fights that were so close, and really imperceptibly close. And if you would have had an extra 3 rounds, they could have been the greatest fights of all time. So for some reason, they decided to make 15-round fights 12. And I think it personally, I think it really hurt boxing. That's me, all right? Maybe people disagree with me, and they say, hey, you don't have to do the fighting. But I think there are things that we can do to make this very, very exciting. And my fights have always been very, even when I fight with business people, I mean, they've always been very exciting. And we do bring excitement to this. And when you see July 19th, it's going to be an amazing evening. We have the best fighters. We have a place that is selling tickets like crazy. I will say these are tough-looking guys. I asked one of them, how long would I last? I'm tough. We're all tough. And he looked at me like I was kidding. That wasn't even nice. But it's an honor to have you in Trump Tower. I think Affliction's going to do really well. It's a great card, and we look forward to being out there and watching. Good luck, you guys, all of you. Good luck. Good luck. Thank you.